Okay, now the first time I had such a wide viewership, I was in my early 20s, and I worked for a local UHF station. I played second fiddle to the host of our Saturday night horror show. It was called The Web, and the master of the show was a big spider puppet named Leonardo, and I played corny stuff. Actually, it was Cornelius stuff, but the show was pretty corny, so that's how I got my nickname. Hopefully today's session will not be quite so corny. And anyway, I think today's viewership might be more than actually watched me on the web. Anyway, I selected hummus for today's class since it's easy to make, it's versatile, delicious, it's healthy, and it's good for any meal. And when you get back to browsing your local grocery stores, just look at all the types of hummus that are there in the case. And really do look at them, because as you will see on all the cans, there are things in there like stabilizers and sugar, and you don't really need that. Most of what you need for hummus is probably already in your kitchen, either in your pantry or in your fridge. And hummus is a staple of the Mediterranean and the Middle Eastern cooking, two areas of the world that feature lots of fresh vegetables in their cooking. And this is another way with hummus to fill up and not fill out. And as we are all being housebound, that's a real tendency to be eating too much at this time. The other thing is that with hummus, well, with any food, I just tend to eat too much of it when I'm frustrated and bored and in the house too much. So this might be a go-to dish for you. If you are vegetarian or vegan, it's also very good. As you know, neither Cheryl nor I are, but we do like to have hummus. Now, when I was a kid, my parents always took us to a lot of restaurants, a lot of international places, but we never did Middle Eastern. I didn't learn about Middle Eastern cooking until I got involved with Middle Eastern dance. And when we girls would have our potlucks, somebody always brought hummus for the potluck tables. For this recipe and many others, one of my favorite books is this one by America's Test Kitchen, and it's called The Mediterranean Cookbook. Lots of good hummus things to do with hummus, lots of nice, easy things to make. The other book that my brother-in-law and sister-in-law gave me is The Cooking of the Eastern Mediterranean. Also good, lots of good vegetable ideas, lots of things that use hummus and tahini, which is another ingredient in our cooking this morning. Now, with my cookbooks, I like to make notes in the margins. I write all through. It's my history. It's like, this is one for stuffed eggplant with yogurt. I don't know if you can see that, but there are notes all over the place. And what I do is I write down the first time I made a dish and what we thought of it. That way I know what I want to change when I make it again. So like on this one, I made it first in August 2016, and I even put on here what to do with the leftovers and how I used it. So that's something you can do with all of your cookbooks, and this recipe too. So once you see how we do this basic method, then you can go along and make your own adaptations. Now, one of the reasons I guess I like so many different kinds of food is I've been very fortunate. I'm part of a military family, as you know, and we've gotten to travel all over the US, many parts of the world. We've lived various places around the world. And so I've learned what it is to have good eats, as a very popular TV host and cookbook author says. And so that's one of the reasons that we like trying new things. And if you are a vegan or a vegetarian, this is a great recipe because it is paleo. It could be your go-to recipe. And it has just a few ingredients, as you saw in the handout that you have. And now, I do need to go back and forth to my notes because this is a low budget show and I just don't have a teleprompter. So please disregard my flipping of pages. Now the first ingredient in our recipe today for our hummus, our basic recipe, is for chickpeas. You can get these in a can, you can get them dried. I've already opened up this can and I have the chickpeas draining so they won't be moist when we actually work with them. But if you don't want to use canned beans for whatever reason, you can use dried. Now, with dried beans, any dried legume, what you really need to do first is put them out on a dish or on a cookie sheet and go through them. Make sure that there are no little stones in there or any other debris. Then put them in a big pot of water, bring it to a boil, and let it boil for about 10 minutes. Then throw that water out, and then any flatulence that you might get from dried beans has just gone down your drain, and you don't have to worry about that. So then take your beans, put them in a pot, again with fresh water, and cook them as long as you need to get them tender. And then you'll have the same thing as you did from the can. Which we don't need anymore. Okay, so that being said, that's the first part of it. Then the second part is the tahini. Now you can buy tahini. It comes in a can with something like this. It's made with dried sesame seeds that you've roasted. And that may not be in your fridge. So what you can do is you can toast sesame seeds, add the oil, and we're going to show you that today too. So, and the tahini in your can will last about a month or so. I have had no problem with commercially purchased tahini lasting even longer than that. And you'll also need olive oil. I use EVOO. That's extra virgin olive oil for those of you who don't watch Rachel Ray. You will need lemon, fresh, please. You will need garlic, again, fresh, much better than using garlic powder. And at the end of today's session, I'll give you ideas for alternative uses for hummus and other possibilities. But what we're going to do first is we're going to make our tahini, and that's the most expensive ingredient in your hummus. And this is, like I said, this is one you may not want to bother with, but I want this show to be longer than 10 minutes. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So I have my pan heating up. I heated up the proper burner. What you're going to do is take your sesame seeds, and I buy these in large sizes. You can buy them this, you can buy, in fact, you can even buy them already roasted. But this is, I'm going to only do a few because you have to let this cool before you can actually add it to your food processor later. So we're just going to heat up a few. And they are popping already. And you want to watch them very carefully. As you can see, as soon as these things hit the pan, they popped, and they are hot. So we will take them into a little bowl. And because I turned the pan on way earlier than I needed to, we're not going to actually use any of those because these guys burned, as you can see. And you can't put, you have to really watch them very, very carefully. So we'll put that aside. And we'll put this aside. So that, when I'm doing this on my own, that pan doesn't get heated up quite so far in advance. So what I'm going to do, in fact, is I'm going to clean this out a little bit because I do need this pan for toasting our cumin later, and we'll watch that a whole lot more carefully. There are no retakes on this show. Okay, so what we need to do is, what I wanted to tell you too about the sesame seeds. The recipe calls for them to be whole, and that's because they are less bitter that way. They are, you'll get a much smoother tahini. So we're going to take our seeds that fortunately I processed earlier, and I'm going to put them into my Ninja. You can use I'm using a Ninja because I'm going to be using my food processor later. I don't want to have to worry about cleaning it out and transferring things. So we're going to make it in a Ninja. You need something with a nice blade because you've got to chop these little suckers. So this will be noisy. Get all those little guys in there. What we want to do is get this to a paste. We get crumbly first, and then it'll get a paste. And 1 cup is about 5 ounces of the seeds. All right, now I'm going to add my olive oil. This is crumbly, as hopefully you can see. And we'll add 3 tablespoons if I don't drop the spoon. I like to use EVOO in just about anything that we cook. It has a couple of things that are good about it. Number one, it helps to raise my good cholesterol, which then lowers my overall ratio. Because that cholesterol has always been a problem for me. All right, so now we're going to chop that up. Scrape it down. And this is not pourable yet. What we want is something that is not gritty, but is pourable. So we're going to add a bit more of the olive oil. And we'll do this again. Now, if you have used store-bought tahini, people have a problem with the natural foods with them separating so that you get an oil layer and a sesame layer. And they say, well, you can leave it upside down or you can stir like crazy. Well, it's even easier if you just take it out about 15 or 20 minutes before you actually want to use it. Then you just easily can stir it up. And the same is true with that natural peanut butter. So this, as you can see, just falls right off the spatula. So we have a nice tahini here. Okay. So now we are going to move on to our hummus. And what you need for hummus is, we're going to try this again and not see if we can not burn anything. Our pan is still nice and hot. So we're going to take half teaspoon of cumin and we're going to toast that. Now, cumin is a spice that maybe you don't use a lot, but I really like it. It has a great flavor. It's good in all kinds of things. It's good in salads. It's good in stews. It's good with all kinds of meats. It's a lovely one. And I buy it so that it is already, it's in whole seeds, because that keeps just so much longer than if you buy things that are already ground. Because if you have them ground already, you really need to dump them after a while. Okay, we don't have smell-o-vision, we don't have taste-o-vision, but I can tell you that these things are getting brown, and my sous chef over here can even smell them, despite the fact that we had to open the door because of the burned sesame seeds. Okay, so we'll take these and let them cool off a moment. Now, we're going to go and put together our other little pieces that we need before we can actually put together our hummus. Now, first I'm going to start with the lemon. What I like to do before I juice my lemon is I do roll it on the counter to break up as many of those membranes as I possibly can, because then you can get more juice out more easily. But I also zest it. Now, why do I zest it? Well, because my parents, like many of yours, grew up during the Depression. You don't throw anything out if you don't have to. So I take the zest and I'll throw it into something else. I'll throw it into my iced tea. If you want, I guess you can throw it into a martini. You can use it in dressings and marinades. It's good for all kinds of things. So I'll take this, and if I have too much of it hanging around because I've forgotten about it, I'll just put it in the freezer. Put it in a little Ziploc bag, date it, and put it in the freezer. So there is our zest. And now we want to cut up our lemon. So cut it in half. I take out any visible seeds I see. They'll go to the composter later. And I juice my lemon. And where did I put my little bowls? Oh, there they are. Juicer. Wash them. Now, if you have really good muscles, you can do this just by hand. I've seen plenty of people do that. I've never gotten that talent or that muscle strength to be able to simply do a lemon or a lime, just squeezing it in my hands and getting the juice out. I choose to pick my battles with food. Other hand. And then, of course, whatever we don't need in our recipe will then go into another little container in the refrigerator to save for something else. To make sure that I have our 3 tablespoons, let me juice this whole guy. Okay. There. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 tablespoons of this along with a half a cup of water. And again, here's another little substitution I like to do. When I'm steaming vegetables, I save the liquid. I don't usually have a lot of salt in anything, so this does not come out salty at all. And so I'll take my half cup of stock. It doesn't matter what vegetable you've been doing. It's just going to add a nice little flavor to your tahini and your hummus mixture. And it is another way to throw some more vegetables, minerals into your whatever you're cooking. Great for stews, great for soups, all that kind of stuff. So now we will take, I guess we didn't need a clean spoon, our 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Mix that together. So that will be ready for our next part of the process. And we're going to take something else I have to mix. Oh, the tahini. Duh. We're going to mix our tahini, and we need 6 tablespoons of that, along with our olive oil. So got nicely made fresh tahini. You know, I never did actually give it a taste. I don't think it needs any salt, but let's see. No, I think that'd be just fine. And it takes up almost all of the tahini that we made earlier, so we'll have very little left over, so you don't have to worry about the excess. And we'll mix that with 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Actually, I think it's 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons. Check that recipe. Read it, read your recipe over and over again, because you just never know. Your memory, I don't know about you, my memory's going at this age. Whisk a little bit of that together so that it is somewhat amalgamated. Hope you can see that. It's all nicely whisked. So now we have our pieces and parts together, and we're going to make our hummus. The main attraction for today's show. Bring the food processor a little closer. Oh, let's cut our garlic. We do need that as well. Do take the peel off of it. This is fortunately very nice to peel. It's some that Cheryl has from seed that he planted in the garden. So smash it a little bit, and then just give it a rough chop. It doesn't have to be minced really fine, because the food processor is going to do that part of the work for us. In fact, your tahini doesn't even have to be that smooth when you're doing it in something like hummus, because again, it's going to get smashed up in your food processor. So here we go with our chickpeas. That's 1 can's worth. And we will add our garlic. Stuff in here. Slippery little suckers today. And our cumin that's been nicely toasted. A little bit of salt, about a half a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to add a little bit of cayenne pepper or crushed red pepper. These are peppers that Cheryl grew last year. I dehydrated them and then ground them up in the food processor and then saved them. So we're just going to take a little bit of that. Not too much. You can handle more heat than I can, but that's okay. Now, I put the lid to this thing someplace to get it out of the way. Okay, so, oh, there's sous chef. Thank you. So we're going to pulse this until it's coarsely chopped. And scrape down the bowl. All right. Now at this point, if you want to add other things to your hummus, there's so many things that you can add, and you'll see that in the various cookbooks. You can add dried tomatoes. These are also from our garden. You can add roasted peppers, which are not from our garden. You can add a pesto. It could be a tomato pesto, a basil pesto rather. This one happens to be a pumpkin seed pesto that we bought when we were over in Europe. But today we're going to keep it just very basic. So we're going to mix those a little more. Now you can look online and you'll see all kinds of ideas. In fact, like I said, to the grocery store, you'll see all kinds of hummus that are really tasty. So we're going to add our other ingredients. We're going to add our tahini mixture as this is going, and hope not to make a mess. Could use a funnel here if you want to. All right. I don't know if you can hear me, so I won't talk. As you can see, it's amalgamating very nicely. Scrape down the sides again. It's looking good. Now we're going to put this back on again, and we're going to add the liquid from the lemon juice and the stock. And as the French would say, voila, we now have hummus. As hopefully you can see through the sides, and I'll see if I can show this to you. As you can see, we have a nice smooth mixture here. Now, if you like your hummus chunkier, you can do that too, but we like it smooth. But we're going to give this a taste to see if anything is missing. That tastes really pretty good. It's a good thing because we have a lot of it. If it needs anything else, if it needs salt, if you want a bit more pepper, and I really like the little hot pepper zing this gets at the end. So now what you're going to do is you're going to put it in a serving bowl. And that's amazing. Just hold the bottom of your food processor with your finger so that you don't lose the blade. Put it in your serving bowl. And you have hummus. I'll get the rest of you out later. And this is our nice basic hummus. Now, if you want to use other beans, I know the Atlee said they're going to use black beans in there. Perfectly fine. You don't even have to use black beans. You can use white beans. You can use cannoli beans. Most any legume will work for this. And I've tried other things too. You can use add smoked paprika. You can add the roasted peppers, as I mentioned. I've seen recipes from artichoke and lemon tahini, which sounds like it would be good. Now I made earlier in the week, actually yesterday, I made some other hummus. And over here, we have a hummus that's made with carrots. There's absolutely no beans in this at all. So if your potassium is too high and you can't have legumes, this might be a go-to thing for you. And if you need the recipe, just send me an email and I'll get that to you. But what we're going to do, and you can garnish these. You can put on pine nuts and chopped cilantro, whatever you want on either kind. But we're going to serve this today with vegetables and pita. It is very Middle Eastern traditional. We have some that I've cut up into little triangles. And we have cucumbers. Now you want to have things that have a nice flat edge. And that's one of the problems when people have a party and they have carrots. And they leave their little, lovely little carrots round. You tried to pick anything up with this, it really is difficult. All you have to do is cut it down the middle, and you have two flat sides for people to do their scooping with a lot more easily. And oh, I also like to keep them short, especially with this COVID stuff. You don't want to have a chance of people double dipping, so keep your carrots short. Put some of those on here. And I also have along today, you can use any veggies you want. But I have some rutabaga, which is nice and crispy. And I have some jicama, another good vegetable. You don't know what these look like? A jicama looks like a fat flying saucer, and it's got a brown covering over it. But when you open it and cut it open, it is really good. It tastes kind of like a cross between an Asian pear, and some people say potato. I don't get the potato, but it's nice and crispy and it's delicious. So put your veggies around, and you have a nice treat for folks. Now, some other things you can use to make with your hummus. You can use edamame. You can use roasted garlic. There are also some things that you can use just because you've made all this lovely tahini that maybe you didn't use up, or maybe you bought the can and you have lots of it left. You can use it as a thickener for soups. You can make a beet tahini mixture. You can do summer squash, tahini, and yogurt. Baba ganoush is a popular Middle Eastern dish that's a roasted eggplant dip. You can make eggplant gazpacho. One of the things that's really good, if you make smoothies, add a scoop of the tahini to your smoothie. I've done it with bananas, I've done it with berries, and it's really good. I found some recipes that I haven't tried. If you try it, let me know. One is a tahini ice cream. One is a chocolate chip tahini cookie that's both flourless and paleo. I even found a recipe for a sesame bonbon. It's a drink made with vodka, chocolate liqueur, and tahini. And that's what a way to clean out your liquor cabinet and forget that you're housebound for all these many weeks. So, does anybody, I do like to try new recipes, so you never know which one of these or others that I'm going to bring to our next coffee hour at church or for knitting or for some other potluck event. Now, does anybody end up cooking with me at all?
No.
No?
I did.
Okay, so what happened? Tell me about it.
I think my food processor is not as strong as yours. I think I have to put it in one more time, but it's going to be great. It's kind of lumpy, Marianne.
That's fine. That's fine. You just put it in there a little bit longer, Rita, and it will be great. I am so glad. Rita and Andrew, two of my favorite people. I'm so sorry you moved to North Carolina and now we're stuck in Florida. But the non-cooks of the group cooked today. I am impressed. I am impressed beyond belief.
I never cooked anything like this in my life, so I'm very, very happy. I've eaten it many times at your house, though, Marianne, many times. So,
Rita, you have warmed my heart. You've made the whole program definitely worthwhile. That is fantastic. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
It doesn't have to do with the hummus. At the beginning, you mentioned about like when you buy the peanut butter and something else where the oil is separated.
Oh, yes.
And mixing it together. Tell me again how you.
Okay. All right. When you buy natural products that separate, because there are no stabilizers in this.
Right.
All you do is before you're going to use it, like if you keep your peanut butter in the refrigerator, that's a natural peanut butter, the same thing applies. You take it out about 20 minutes, 15 minutes before you need it, Margot. Then just stir it.
Okay.
It'll come to room temperature, and it will be a piece of cake to stir.
Okay.
It's so easy, and you don't need to be a muscle man to get it to all go back together again. Because if you're like me, I didn't know that, and it was just like a mess. How do you get it mixed even so that you don't use up all the liquid and you still have the other stuff left over in the jar?
Yeah, that's exactly where I've been. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Good.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Jim Thrift. What could you explain a little bit what a jicama is?
Sure.
Could you even spell it? I mean.
Okay. Yeah. Let me get the extra half out of the refrigerator. Hold on, Jim.
Okay, sure.
You buy it at the grocery store. This is what it looks like. Okay. This is what it looks like when it's open.
Okay. It does look like a potato.
Yeah, it does kind of, but it is not anything related to potato. It grows where, Cheryl? Oh, it grows on a vine, Cheryl says. Okay. But this brown coating you have to take off.
Okay.
Because that's very fibrous. So you just use a carrot peeler.
Yeah, right.
Take that off and then chop it up. Now what I do, like this one I had in water, and these overnight I had in water as well, because things like the carrots, the celery, the jicama, they'll all dry out.
Right.
And I'll spell it for you. It's
Okay.
Jicama.
Okay.
Because in Spanish, it's a Latin food, so those J's are pronounced as an H.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, you just eat it raw.
You eat it raw. Now, I have never actually looked for a recipe for cooking it.
What the qualifications of our sous chef are.
Say that again, please.
What the qualifications of your sous chef are.
Oh, my sous chef. Just because I happen to live with him. That makes him my sous chef. Don't need any other qualifications other than that today. And he does grill out, and he promises to grill out tomorrow for Mother's Day. So that makes him my sous chef. Any other comments? Any other questions?
This was fun.
I'm going to tune in next Saturday to see your next show. I can't wait.
Well, it isn't going to be me next Saturday. This was season 1, episode 1.
Oh.
And next week will be Norm Flora, and he's going to show you how to make the most magnificent pizzas.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay?
Oh, that's cool.
Now, if you have something you want to share, all you have to do is contact Patty and Kip, and they'll get you signed up.
Patty's already contacted me, and I'm on the list.
Excellent. Now, I will stay online if anybody has any other questions, but I do hope that you enjoy your day, you stay healthy. I'm sorry we're not having the festival, but I'm glad that I could spend some time with those of you who are online. And happy Mother's Day to those to whom it applies for tomorrow.
And Mary Ann, you are leaving all of that in the fridge at the church sometime today, right? So.
Well, I could be bribed. If you're coming down the road, Ken, I will leave some for you in the fridge.
No, I'm just kidding, but that's
Oh,
if you did, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you.
So much.
Wonderful.
Hope it's
Very
cool.
good.
Great tomorrow.
All
Thank you.
right.
Excellent.
So good.
And I think I had more viewership today than I ever had on the web.
This is so easy. You know, it's.
Yeah, it was fun, Cammie. And my hands aren't as cold as they were when I started, so that's
Good.
good.
You did very well.
Yes, you
Yeah.
did. Yes, I enjoyed it.
Good.
All right.
Oh, I did. Wait a minute, I forgot
Thank
one
you so
thing.
much.
Wait,
Okay,
don't hang up. I forgot. If you have extra hummus for giving to your pastor or whatever, what I do is I take a muffin tray, and then I get some saran, and I line the muffin tray with saran. And I do this when I make pesto, when I've got too much of anything like that. And then I take what is commonly called an ice cream scoop, but other people call it a disher. And I will take a blob of this and put it in the openings created by the muffin
What
tray.
a great idea.
And then you let the saran fall down a little bit. Then you take another one and you do another scoop. And you fill up these to whatever height you want them. And they're all pre-measured. So what you do then, you take this whole piece and you put it in the freezer. Once it's all frozen, you lift up the saran and take it and fold it over, or however, and you put it in a Ziploc bag in the freezer, back in the freezer, because these are all now nice and solid. Label your package, and you can take out little bits of hummus whenever you want to in the future without having to make the whole thing from fresh.
Oh, what a great idea.
Great
Yeah.
idea.
And because I used to use the ice cube trays, and that just wasn't very successful to me because I had to really clean those trays out afterwards, and that was a mess. So anyway,
That's perfect.
Yes,
so
excellent.
those are today's cooking hints.
Happy Mother's Day, Marianne.
Yes, happy Mother's
Mother's
Day.
Day.
Thank you all for coming today.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, Jack.